Welcome back, Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're going to be doing a little build and paint, working on an Imperial Knight Chaos Armiger conversion. So what we have here is our model all done up, and it's primed and based, and we're just going to get started with a little bit of leadbelcher, and we're just going to go through and do a dry brush over pretty much over everything. And what we're looking to do here is just get like a little bit of depth down in the cracks. We're gonna leave it like that black, chaos black, Abaddon black kind of color, and then we're looking to get like all of the raised edges, kind of like that silvery look there. So we're basically just gonna take our model here and just kind of flick our brush over top the details, and we're just sort of looking to, like, let's say cover, say, 75% of the surface area with that leadbelcher paint, and kind of give it that metallic look. And when we apply the paint to the brush, we want to get the majority of the paint off of the brush before we apply it to the model. That way it's not all like clumpy and clogging up all the detail. It's only like going on the raised edges, and slowly just building up layers of it as we flick it over the same area over and over again. Like, you don't have to go down inside there or anything, but I just assume throw a little paint wherever. You might be able to see it when you're transporting them or opening them up, so it doesn't look like I just skipped the area. And we're just gonna go over and just do like a nice heavy coat of this, and we just want to make sure that we get like every single detail basically like kind of picked out that we want. There we go. And now you see already we're getting like that kind of metallic look to it. So you'll see there's like a lot of details on here that's going to be like flesh when it's all said and done. But we're not worried about that. We're just getting like the majority of it with this metallic, and then we'll go back through and just layer on like our flesh and the other stuff over top of like the machine parts. So the paint will essentially like give it that depth that we're looking for, and then the washes will essentially like unite all of it. Alright, so there, went through and did the leadbelcher dry brush over everything, and as you can see, it's just kind of like picked out the details, and it's kind of giving us like the overall like metallic look to everything. And then I actually went through and did the first little set on the base too. So what I did here is I did a celestra gray dry brush over like the darker gray like base coat that was on there. And then after that was dry, I went over like the statue portions, and I actually did like a Rakarth flesh dry brush because I wanted that to be like the ground was like a little more gray, and then the ruins are like a little more like tan or like that sandy kind of color. And then we're gonna go through next, once this is all dry up, and just kind of do a wash over everything. I want to do a black wash or Nuln Oil over top of like all the parts of like the Chaos Knight, and just kind of like unify it again. And then I also want to do like an agrax earthshade over all this, and kind of like blend everything back together before we start to like pick out all the details and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and get everything ready once it's all dry, and we'll just kind of show the process on that as well. Alright, now next we're going to come through with this agrax earthshade, and we're just going to go around the base here, and we want to just kind of go over the transition areas where the two colors meet, and we're just going to kind of blend them in with that wash. So what I'm saying is we want to leave like the higher raised areas here, but like the like dirt and like kind of like dinge down in there, like the little bits of like gravel and everything, like the bottom like 2/3 maybe, or like 1/3 of like the substrate. We want to get all that. And then like some of these like cracks in here, we can take like a little bit of it, but we don't want to get it on like all the like raised up and like most like brighter areas that we want to keep it at. We want to basically just allow this to like create a little bit of depth now in our environment. And as we go through here and do that, you can pick little random areas to kind of like pick out and give a little more brown to. And as we sort of build up these colors, that's going to give us like that three-dimensional depth in the environment, and it's going to turn like essentially what was only a couple layers of like our little environment, like rubble and gravel and everything. We're going to turn that into what looks like, you know, years of just like war-torn you know, environment, and like broken statues and rubble and ruins and, you know, mechanical pieces, you know, anything you could possibly imagine in this like 41st millennium. But that's the idea, is to just get it down in the darker parts, but to avoid like the most raised up areas that we want to keep the brightest. And what that does, every color that we add in here, say we have like 3 shades of each color that we add in here, they just multiply by each other. So if you have like 2 shades of gray and then you hit 1 wash on it, you now have like basically 6 colors, because that wash is going to give you like multiple shades of the same color. So by the time it's all said and done with your highlights and your shades and all that stuff, you know, you can turn, like, say we're going to use like 6 colors on this, you can turn that 6 colors into like 20 or 30 or 50. You know what I mean? By blending them together. So it's going to give you a lot more of like a realistic look when it's all said and done. Alright, sweet. And once we run around and basically like hit everything, you can see it's already creating like that little bit of depth. And we're even going to create a little depth on like the just gray part itself by just allowing a little bit of this color to kind of seep out randomly onto the gray. Alright, so it's not like completely uniform. It doesn't look like lines. It looks like just random spots. So, and there we have that. And now we're going to go through with this agrax earthshade actually, and now we're going to shade all the metal bits of this as well. So we want to just kind of give it deep down anywhere that's going to stay metal. And if you're not sure what's going to look metal at the end, you can just go ahead and just cover the whole thing. But we have a pretty good idea, you know, what's going to end up happening with this. Some parts are going to be metal, some parts are going to be flesh, but we're not really worried about like the armor plates or like the trim parts that are going to end up getting covered up. We essentially just want like this little bit of like weathered kind of brown to kind of bring it all together and make it like a uniform and kind of worn. And then the armor plates that are over top are going to be just like a little bit more like brighter and have like a little bit more of like a sheen and a little lighter to them. So it's going to like stand out some. So we just want to go through, basically do all of them like that. And we do like to hold everything right side up while you're doing it. That way you ensure that like gravity is going to draw like the liquid down to the bottom, and then you can go through at the end and kind of scoop up the little like puddles off the bottom and just redistribute them on the model. Or if you have too much entirely, you can use your paintbrush to essentially like remove it off the model by like letting the gravity soak it up, and then you can take it and put it somewhere else or like completely remove it. But that's our basic look right there that we're looking for. We just want to allow that wash to kind of blend it together now and kind of take down the sheen just a little bit on the metallics, so they're not like overly bright, especially because this is a chaos knight we're doing. And you know, we want him to look like he's been through thousands of battles and he's been like around for like millennia. It's not like clean. We want him to be war torn, rough. Just gonna take that off. But this is like the most important areas in here where it's gonna stay that color, as where like a lot of the other areas, like the more exposed areas, we're gonna be painting over them with like, in this case it's herpatrax, so it's gonna be like some green, some white, and some black for like the armor plates. But that should give like a pretty cool look. And then these are gonna look kind of like dirty. Can you see how it gets kind of like that brownish oily look to it? It just looks like it gives it like a very realistic look to it. I'm a very big fan. Anybody that's like watch any of my videos know I'm a very big fan of Null and Oil and Agrax Earthshade both. They both create like absolutely phenomenal effects. Alright, now that we give that plenty of time to dry, you'll see that we have our knight with like sort of a oily, kind of brownish, silver metallic look to him. And this next step may not apply to you since this is a conversion, but what we're going to be doing is we're going to take our Bugman's Glow and we're just going to add a little bit of water to our palette and a little bit of paint, and we're going to go ahead and paint like the fleshy bits on our knight. Now the reason I say this might not apply to you is that a lot of these fleshy bits like are part of the conversion. Like we have like the mouth and kind of like teeth on here, so they're gonna get like a little bone and flesh color, and we may do like a fleshy color over like the pipes kind of like surrounding there. And then you'll see also like on the legs of our knight and the back here we have like actual like meat, you know what I mean. So we're gonna want to go through and get all that painted like correct color as well. So we're going to just use a little bit of our watered down Bugmans for that, and go through and just give us a little bit of a mixture there. That's going to give us a little bit of a flesh tone. And again, we water it down pretty good so we have plenty on our brush. And then what we're going to do is just go through each area and just sort of pick out like the fleshy areas on it. And you'll see here, it's very obvious, you know, what's flesh and what's not. So we just want to kind of dodge the armor bits and kind of just paint around it and get all like the actual meat bits. And then if we make any mistakes, we can come back in and fix it. But we want to get a nice coat of this, nice and thick. There we go. And we'll just go through and do the whole model like that. And if you just have a regular knight, you could skip through this part and pick back up at the next stage. Alright, great. So once we went ahead and did that, laid down that Bugman's flesh, you could do one thicker coat or two thin coats. Just make sure you get some nice coverage. But as you can see, it's going to start giving us you know, a nice little distinction between the metal parts and you know, like our flesh and our hoses and everything. And then we just lay down like a nice coverage and use this for our base for like the teeth later on when we go to like pick those out. And then we can pick out some of the other detail right now, or we can go to like the next step. It's all up to you where you want to go from here, especially with like a small model like this, where it's completely magnetized and you can take it apart so you can reach any areas like real easy. But the idea is to like save yourself a bunch of work. So we're just going to go through now and just start picking out some of the detail, and we'll come back and show off some of that in step 2. That's it for step 1. And if you haven't subscribed already and you enjoyed this video, guys, make sure you do subscribe for the second half and regular content. That's Warhammer Man Studios, and I'm out of here.